can't. That is weird. Should I do the ultra wide camera?
For some reason, that came through on the thing. All right, 1 second. Let me just
leave it in.
That was classic. We should actually. We're saying it. Whoa, when the thing comes up. All right, let's do it. All right, let me start the show. Let me start the show. Failure is the condiment that gives success its flavor. That's right, chaps. Because if week 1 of the AFLW final series was a bit of a failure, a bit of a wet fart that trickled down the leg of the viewer, week 2, at least 3 of 4 teams, came to the party with something that was much closer to success, flavored by the condiment of failure. From the week before, my name is Jake. I'm joined by Sambo and Johnny. We are the Chaps Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. How are you, chaps?
Pretty good.
Good. Doing very well. Not at all perturbed by not the first time we've started a show with talk of bodily fluids dripping down legs.
And it won't be the last.
Guaranteed.
That is
guaranteed.
It's true. On the show this evening, the AFLW finals. What is happening, Colin? The banner is green. What is happening? I don't understand, Colin. We have to fire
lime
producer
green
Colin
as well,
because it's lime green. Colin, come to the party here. There we go. That's a bit better. On the show tonight, AFLW finals, week 2 recap. We will discuss both games. Then it's off to Patreon. Going to do a bit of a general shit talk. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're definitely going to talk about the AFLW prelim finals preview.
It's definitely worth your money. We don't know what we talk about. It'll definitely just so everyone knows.
It's going to be good.
It'll definitely be worth it, without question. And for anyone going, Sam's mic sounds different. Yes, it does. If you haven't been following along on the Sam Tech saga, shame on you, because that means you haven't been watching the last couple of weeks. Yeah, we're still in the Tech saga, the annual Sambo's summer or spring Tech saga. So we're recording via different methods. And you should just be less pedantic and get the fuck over it. On we go, chaps. We want to talk all about the games. Before we get into the games, though, a big Hoops Crew Media Network thank you to our sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at Shop 12, 11 Leather Street in Breakwater. You can phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit the website www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. Use the code GOCATS at checkout to get 20% off your next purchase. Cyril Cook, an absolute bunch of legends. We thank them very much for their sponsorship of the Hoops Crew Media Network. All right. What is off with the yes sir button? What has done? I think the soundboard might be possessed. Might be possessed.
That was
let's
interesting.
We'll start with the game of the week. There was only 2 games, but this was the game of the week, as we expected. It was the match between the second placed Melbourne Demons and the 6th placed Adelaide Crows. This one, the Demons started like a house on fire. 2 goals inside the opening 4 minutes to Megan Fitzsimon and Kate Hall. However, The Crows responded, a goal to Catlin Gold. And then the Dees won on the siren of quarter time to Maggie Marnie. And that put them up 3-2-20 to 1-2-8 at quarter time. Melbourne absolutely frothing at the prospect of eviscerating the Crows, but the Crows refused to be eviscerated in the second term. In fact, the visitors peeled off 4 consecutive goals to Jess Allen, to Tia Charlton, to Zoe Prowse, and Neve Kelly. A response from Maggie Marnie of the Dees at the 19-minute mark was cancelled out by Danielle Ponta on the stroke of half time to give the Crows, the visiting Crows, a 6-4 40 to 4-3 27 lead. And I messaged Sambo at this point in the game, Johnny, and said, Melbourne remind me an awful lot of Geelong. They come out like a house on fire. They huff and puff. And if they haven't blown the house down, they're very susceptible to a comeback. And I thought that was what the story of the second half was going to be, but it was not. Because over the third quarter, the Demons took control of the game. Blaine Mackin and Kate Hoare Gold to give them a slim advantage that was cancelled out by a behind to Catlin Gold. And the two sides went in at three-quarter time, tied at 6-5-41 to 6-5-41. And from there, Melbourne went on with the business. 3 consecutive goals to start the final part of play. Kate Hoare with her third, Riley Wotherspoon with her first, Georgia Campbell with her first sealed the deal, despite the fact that Adelaide got a late one back off the boot of Ebony Marinoff. It was not enough for the visiting Crows. They fall and their season ends on the horns of a Melbourne team that cap a convincing second half comeback, 9-6-60 to 7-7-49. Johnny Larkin, Sambo has just had to abandon ship briefly.
He has.
So, what did you think of this game, John?
This was up there as one of those better finals performances by both teams you'll see in a while. Like, this was just go from blow to blow from each side from start to finish, and no one really got on top for much of the game for the whole time either. Like, both teams had their moments on top where they looked better, but they only just looked that little bit better than the opposition at certain points in time. And the contest was just ferocious. Like, I felt stressed watching the replay. So being one of the fans there live or watching it as a fan of one of those teams would have been extremely stressful from the start to the finish, because either of these teams could have won this game. And it really did just come down to, as the commentary say, in finals, it's those little moments that really add up, that can really win you a final. And I think it was Gillard who had a couple of big moments. I think it was her who laid that tackle on Neve as she was running inside 50 just before three-quarter time, where she had looks like she's going to run in for a shot at goal. And I was like, there's a player there, pass it to the player on your left. She's wide open. She didn't, got run down by Gillard. And I thought that felt like a massive moment. And then again in the last quarter, with there's only 30 seconds left on the clock, but again, to do the same thing to another player really summed up the game of, you just don't have the time. You got to be aware of your situation the entire time and where you are, and no one had much space, and the only players that could make the space were the better players on each side. But even them weren't able to find the space to maneuver and do the usual things. It was just that high pressure. But yeah, it was exciting. It was fun to watch. I knew the score, but even though I knew the score, it was still a really exhilarating game to watch on a replay. Yeah, a ferocious, hard-fought finals, and it'll be up there as one of my favourite finals I've watched, because it was just entertainment from the start to the finish. And yeah, bitterly disappointing for the Crows. But they I feel like they had more time with the ball than Melbourne, but they just weren't able to capitalise, especially in that third quarter where they were really dominating the game, where it out forward most of the game. It just couldn't put the scoreboard pressure on, and Melbourne were able to get a couple of goals from a lot less inside 50s. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough loss for Crows, but a massive win for Melbourne and sets up a really exciting prelim final against North Melbourne. And I'm glad I tipped Melbourne. Glad I tipped Melbourne in the end. I got both tips right.
Yeah. Do we go pretty much 2 for 2 across the board with the Chaps? I can't remember. I feel that we lent
tipped
Melbourne,
Crows.
but I haven't gone back and listened to the. Okay, so Sambo went Crows, and I think for me, one of the things that stood out with Melbourne's ability to win was 31 inside 50s for 15 scores. Conversely, it was 46 inside 50s for the Crows for 14 scores. So that's, a score every third entry for Adelaide. It was a score every 2 entries for Melbourne. And I thought they were very efficient with how they move the ball. But, the Crows did get 13 marks inside 50 to 7. So the Crows actually did create more marks inside 50 than Melbourne, but the Dees, a lot more uncontested possessions, 159. It was up nearly 20 on their season average. The Crows well down on their season of an average of 136.6 to 119. Sambo, what did you think about this game? Johnny was just saying, like, maybe one of his favourite finals that he's watched in general. The standard of footy was high and both teams had their chances to win, obviously, but it's the Dees who charged back in the second half after they looked potentially on the ropes.
Yeah, I mean, both teams looked like they were on the ropes at various stages, actually. It was such a momentum swing kind of game. Like, it was so it wasn't really like, it didn't feel like patches where it was super even. It felt like just it kept swinging between patches where one team was dominant and then back the other way and the other team was dominant. I thought the Crows had it stitched up. Yeah, I did actually. I thought we'd sort of seen Melbourne's best, and that they'd kind of thrown all their punches, and that the Crows looked like the ones that were just had that bit more depth and a little bit more fire going into the back end. But it obviously didn't go that way. But yeah, no, I agree that the standard was so high. Like, the pressure was really good. The quality of disposal was really good. The ball efficiency and the goal efficiency was also pretty good from memory. So it was just a really high goal efficiency of 29% for Melbourne is, I think that's the highest of the finals so far. I think even North Melbourne didn't go at 29% last week, because I remember we were going through the goal efficiency quite a bit. So yeah, I just thought it was a really good contest. But it feels deserving in the end. I think Melbourne's probably the team I prefer of the two. I like the way they play football just a little bit more. They're a bit more consistent across the board, I think. Crows I think have higher peaks and lower valleys. When the Crows are on, and they're pushing and they're on song, they look really good. But I think Melbourne are just so consistent. They're kind of they do feel a little bit like North Melbourne in terms of their consistency, just not. And I just mean across the board, like back line, midfield, forward line, and their sort of team structure. But just I know we're just going to keep saying this. I still don't know if I see anyone actually being able to stop North. But yeah, Melbourne looked really good.
Well, if you said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even 3 weeks ago now, that when you grow up, you'd like to be Jackie Parry, which I thought was a good call, good role model.
Yep.
When I grow
Absolutely.
up, I think I'd like to be Kate Hall. Like, what a footy player. Holy shit, boys. Like, I text,
can she finally be our player
Sambo,
of the round? Because last week I really wanted to have her. And I couldn't because it has to be a winning team. Surely.
Yeah, she was going to be my choice. Like, There's
Yeah.
no one else that could come close to what she produced this game. Like it was just inspirational leadership by her as well. Like she's just everywhere. Defense, midfield, forward line, three straight goals, then goes into midfield, helps dominate the midfield, then goes to defense and takes 3 intercept marks in a row. It's just what a game, what a player. She's just one of those, as they say, generational talented players that, and the kick, I didn't realize what a absolute powerful kick she's got on her when she's in that zone, and how it's those flat, straight kicks straight to a player. And she's one of those players that I was thinking about it earlier, just before I came on, that those players that whenever they do something, it comes off most of the time. But for her, it's like 90% of the time, what she wants to happen happens. And then there's only like the 10%, if not less, that it doesn't happen her the way she wants it to happen. She is easily the player of the round and absolutely terrifying player to watch. Like she is she in the finals.
It's the complete skill set that you love. Like you said, all different places on the ground, but then even the goals, the fact that she takes 7 marks, slots 3 goals, the goal running towards the boundary, dribbling it back along the ground. The one she gave off, I think it was to Mackin, who snagged it around the corner like with a snap. There was just, I think you said it well, Sambo, that like Adelaide, when they're on, they look like they can beat anyone. But really, if you think about this game, it was the second quarter really was Adelaide's. They kicked 5 goals, 5 goals, 2 to 1 goal, 1 in that quarter. Apart from that quarter, really, it was Melbourne's game. It was Melbourne who won the first quarter. It was Melbourne who won the third quarter. It was Melbourne who won the fourth quarter. And I was so glad for the Demons that they put it all together after halftime, because they started so hot and looked good for the win. And then the Crows just found something in that second quarter. So I'm glad that Melbourne put it together and sort of did themselves proud. What was it? It was 5 goals to 1 after halftime to Melbourne. So, but yeah, it was spearheaded by Kate Hoare, who was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't read the stat line for Kate Hoare, it was 26 disposals at 76% disposal efficiency, 7 marks, 4 tackles, a clearance, 355 metres gained, 3 goals straight and 1 goal assist. And she played 91% time on ground. The other player I thought was really, really crucial, Chaps, was Shelley Heath. She was right there for me as one of Melbourne's best. 24 touches, 5 marks, 8 tackles, game high 6 clearances, and a goal assist. Just her speed to break things open. She did make me think, was that the one in the middle of the ground? Like the one that went about 20 meters? Someone.
No, this was one. It was on the wing where she just handballed it perfectly over the Adelaide's defender, and just like the Melbourne teammate just kept running full speed, was able to collect it. It was just this perfectly weighted handball that led to a goal.
Shelley Heath, really was pretty close to getting my player of the round. But I'm with you, lads, that we really should. I think Kate Hoare is that player, but Shelley Heath was there or thereabouts. There were Michaela Bowen vibes for me to her game. Just hard running both ways, in defense, in attack. The fact that she finishes with the 3rd most tackles on the ground and the most clearances on the ground sort of speaks to that two-way work. And also, I thought some of Melbourne's key defenders did a really good job as well. Johnny, you mentioned Gillard doing some nice stuff, but there was some really good one-on-one marking down back. I thought some good intercept marking for the Dees, and really good value for the win. Any other notes for you chaps from this game before we move on to the Hawks and Carlton?
Ebony Marinoff, I thought, was sensational for Adelaide. She did more than enough to try and get them over the line, which she probably nearly could have if she just had a little bit more support in that midfield, but like it would have been much more support. And Riddell was fairly helpful in defence. And I thought Harris in that third quarter really helped Melbourne sort of get that momentum back their way when she went into the ruck, and was able to also get some good intercept marks, strong contested marks in that third quarter to really swing momentum back their way.
She's one of those players. I mean, I kind of hate to say it, but like one of those like, oh, good for the game players. Like when she has a good game, it's like it is good for the exposure of the game. I think it's a little bit of a different kind of player, obviously, but a bit of a Dusty Martin thing where it's like everybody kind of knows that player. So when they do well, it feels a little bit infectious. Like people that never talk about the AFLW will go, "Oh, I saw that Harris had a good game on the week." You know what I mean? It's kind of just spreads a little bit better. The other Melbourneite that I thought did really well was McNamara. She was someone who's like I don't know if I've missed you guys talk about her already when I ducked out there. But she was just sort of not necessarily a high efficiency. Like I think her kicking efficiency was pretty low, but she was involved in a lot of contested stuff, and she's just one of those players that, like, as someone that hasn't watched a lot of the other teams, like, you know, fully open that I'm kind of exploring all these teams now in the back end. So you really notice when there's a name you've not heard much before that just keeps getting mentioned by the commentators, and so I really started to take notice of her, and I thought she was kind of really amongst it. In sort of that midfield battle. So, yeah, she was the only one that you guys haven't mentioned that I sort of took note of.
Bedell was the other one.
Just on Taylor Harris. Yeah, Bedell was great. Down back for the Crows. Just on Taylor Harris, 14 games this year. She's kicked 15 goals, 12. So averaging a goal a game, which is very, very nice work. 3.6 marks per game. More disposals per game than she's ever averaged. And her disposal efficiency is up 6.5% on her career average too. So, like, it's interesting. Like, Kate Hoare, I think, rightly should get all the headlines. But Taylor Harris, for me, she's a player that sometimes cops shit because she's such a well-known player. But she's actually had a great season. Like, she's doing exactly what you would hope from one of your, key experienced offensive players would do. So, no, really, really enjoyed her game. And just a shout out too before we move on, former Geelong Cat Denby Taylor for Melbourne. Denby Taylor was on the list when we first started doing the podcast about the Cats in 2021. She stepped away from the game, stepped back onto the field in the hoops at the VFLW level a couple of seasons ago. And I said, watching her then, like, I think this is a player who has another go in the AFLW in her. She looked good, at that VFLW level, too good really for that level, and awesome to see her play in this game, in this final series for Melbourne, and off to a prelim final. So congrats to former Cat Denby Taylor. We can always find a way to make it about ourselves on a Geelong podcast.
Some good moments. Had some big moments for Melbourne as well, Taylor, especially in that. Yeah, I think it was the third quarter. Or second quarter, third, or
tough
last
player.
Might have been the last quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. She's really tough and really hardworking and often makes good decisions. Like, I think, I'd said it when I was doing the VFLW coverage at the time. Like, somebody has to put her on their list because she's obviously too good to just play at VFLW level. Awesome to see her there. All right, with that, let's move on to the more lopsided contest, which was the 4th place Hawks taking on the 5th place Blues. 7:15 p.m. at Icon Park. Now, on the previous podcast, Chaps, we waxed and waned about who would win, who could win, why would they win, and we all definitely flagged the potential of, Hawthorn needing to win in a particular way, and it was probably in a way that didn't require them to score an absolute boatload of points. It would be a grindy, gritty kind of affair. And I went back and had a little bit of a listen to our preview. And the words that stuck with me from me were chance for a statement. This is a chance for the Carlton to make a statement about who they are. because we talked about they hadn't really beaten any top 4 teams this year outside of Brisbane, and they did that to their credit. But this was a chance to have a big, big scalp in finals. And I just couldn't help but think about it, lads, when Carlton unfurled a 4-7-31 to nothing opening quarter. It was goals to Mia Austin, to Sophie McKay, who has to be one of the most exciting players on a footy field at the moment, to Poppy Schultz and to Mimi Hill. And they should have had more. This should have been 60 to nothing. This should have been 50 to nothing at quarter time, but 4-7 kept the Hawks afloat. But Carlton really didn't let up. Mia Austin kicked a goal early in the second term. The Hawks responded and could have had some more goals of their own. They had a flurry of behinds. Carlton's Sophie McKay added her second of the game at the 16-minute, 41-second mark before being cancelled out with a goal to Jazz Fleming for the Hawks. But that left it at 6-7-43 to 2-4-16. And we thought maybe Hawthorn might have something in the second half. The Blues put it to bed with aplomb. It was 4 goals in the space of about 8 minutes. It was Abby McKay. It was Dana Finn. It was Dana Finn again and Lily Goss to make it 70-18 at 3-quarter time. The Blues added a goal. Sophie McKay, her third, at the 6.5-minute mark to really put salt in the Hawks' wounds. Hawthorn were able to get a couple late. Anya McDonough, reward for effort, and one to Laura Stone. But this was all about Carlton, chaps. And I'm going to come to you first on this one, Sam, as the Blues steamroll their way into a prelim 11-13-79 to 4-9-33. What was your sort of takeaway?
Stop it. They're already dead.
yeah, it was a little bit of that. I guess like I was quite underwhelmed by the Hawks a little bit. I had hoped they might have a bit more to show, but I mean, yeah, you can't help but be impressed with the sort of ruthless efficiency of Carlton. Not efficiency in front of goal necessarily, but just efficiency of their they just didn't really take the foot off the throat. Really, like it looked dead and gone in the first 5 minutes, and they just didn't let up at all. It was like, to call it a training exercise kind of, I suppose, undersells what Carlton had to do, but it did feel a little bit like that. Like it felt like rinse and repeat, I suppose. The same thing just kept, every time the Hawks were trying to get it out of their back line, the same thing just kept happening. Every time there was contests in the middle, it was the same thing. It just felt very, very deja vu-y, I thought. And just the Hawks are just getting piled on and just couldn't really drag themselves out of it. Like it did just feel like, it felt like exactly what it is, I suppose. It just felt like a team that's just not, like, that wasn't quite up for the occasion versus a team that's out to maybe take some scalps. And yeah, it really did feel like Carlton was steaming on to next round, and it probably didn't matter too much which of the other teams that they could have played was at the receiving end, with the fixturing and everything. I think this was kind of fairly foregone, just looking at the way they came out. I will say a kind of shocking stat is that there's only one between the inside 50s. It's 40-41.
Yeah.
That stuns me. I mean, the Hawks inside 50s were, like, obviously not all inside 50s are created equal. Like, they weren't dangerous inside 50s, but I thought they probably must have had about 22 for the game, to be honest. The fact they got to 40 is kind of stunning. But it does ring true that I don't know if, I think we touched on it in the public show, but it might have been the Patreon section. But we talked about the Hawks needing, you brought it up, Jake, the Hawks needing more avenues to goal. And we sort of talked a little bit about their just sort of dump it on McDonough's head and hope she can just pull something out of a hat. And they just didn't really try anything else. I mean, it's a little bit dismissive. I'm sure they did do other things, but it really looked like yeah, they were desperate. Whenever they did get a look up forward, they were absolutely desperate and kind of like a dog chasing a car, I suppose. And then once they actually got it and they were in a position to do something with it, it was just dump it forward and plonk it on her head. And McDonough's an incredible player, but just none of it was advantageous. None of it was really giving her a proper look at it. So that was a little bit depressing, I thought. But yeah, I mean, good, well done, Carlton. But I will say I did have more of a, I suppose, a negative feeling about Hawks coming away, as opposed to thinking too much about Carlton until I started speaking to you guys about it.
Yeah, this is one of those games that was over at that quarter time. Like, Carlton just came out and put the foot down, and Hawthorn had no response. They really just looked like a deer in headlights from the very beginning of this game. Like, they were basically witches' hats in that first quarter, to be pretty honest. Like, it was pretty much a Carlton training drill of how many goals and how fast can we move it from end to end. And to credit the Hawks, they did put a bit more pressure on in that second quarter, but yeah, they just looked completely outclassed, outplayed in every single facet of this game. And it's a harsh way to lose a final. Like, it's pretty bitterly disappointing as a player, as a fan of the Hawks, to see this happen. And yeah, there's not much you can really gain out of a loss like this, where every player just looks really flat in that first quarter and just couldn't get into it. Whereas Carlton they looked like they knew what their plan was. They knew what they wanted to do. They're on the same level from every single player. Like, every single Carlton player just felt like they knew where they were going to be, where the teammates were going to be, where each other had to be at a certain point, where themselves, that individual player, knew exactly where they were meant to be every point of this game, and just tore Hawthorn apart. But yeah, well done to Carlton. Absolutely blitzed them from the start and didn't let them get a foot in, really. Like, there was those moments where the Hawks looked like they could, but yeah, they didn't have a chance.
The first final felt a little bit more like a heavyweight boxing match, and this one really felt more like a jiu-jitsu competition between two very it didn't really feel like throwing punches. It really felt just like boa constrictor, like wind them up, keep them on the mat until they tap, and then do it again and do it again and do it again until the sirens went.
It was brutal. It was brutal to watch. Like, it's a harsh lesson, as I said, to see where you're at in the finals. And this is why I was partly glad that the Cats didn't make it into the finals, because I feel like this could have happened to us in the first week of finals. Like, we could have been this Hawthorn side that just looked lost. But it's experience. It's the lessons they'll take into next year. But yeah, Carlton just they looked primed. They looked ready to go. They looked ready to take on Brisbane in Brisbane, and I think that's going to be a really exciting game. I think Brisbane Carlton sneakily could be the more exciting game, even though I said earlier offline to Jake, I'm more looking forward to North Melbourne and Melbourne. But I honestly think this could be also pretty darn exciting.
Yeah, I think I came away just massively excited about Carlton. Like, my overwhelming feeling about this weekend was that 3 of the 4 teams really showed what the AFLW is capable of, the kind of footy that can be played. Like, I was just kind of in awe of, we've watched pretty much from the start, the first AFLW season, and the growth in skill and like tactical development and that sort of thing in the league is massive, despite, a bunch of cranky uncles on Twitter saying to the opposite. Like, it really did to me. It was a great exposure of where Geelong needs to improve. And do you know what I would say is that Geelong can actually count themselves a little bit lucky in that I think they have more of the personnel in place in terms of their playing group than maybe a team like the Hawks does. And the Hawks beat us fair and square down at Kardinia Park 2 years in a row. But my feeling about the Hawks is that they are still a couple of attacking half players short. And I know if any Hawks fans listening to this will say, we've got injuries. And I totally accept that. There were definitely injuries to some key players that might have made a difference. But making a difference and making the difference, well, there's a big difference in that.
Big difference.
Like, I don't think it would have, I don't think it would have mattered who was out there. Like, Carlton showed where the game is going. And I thought Melbourne and Adelaide showed where the game is at. I think North Melbourne, you see it every week, they show where the game is at if you're going to be a team that wins a flag. And that is the ability to move the ball with speed and accuracy. And I thought Carlton did that so well. Like, it's so encouraging now. Like, if you think back, some of the early days of the dub were like a hard watch, chaps. Like, let's be honest about it. Sometimes with, roving, mauling packs and not a lot of outside play and huge tackle counts and these sorts of things. And now we've got a sport that utilizes the outside players massively, and Carlton's success, was built on some of that, like, daring, hard running, fast running, aggressive ball movement, where they were just going to switch it into the corridor and take the game on. And you can just see that you're now capable of doing that because of the improvement of the foot skills and the marking skills too. It's all very well to say, hey, let's try and go fast and go attacking. But clever teams back in the day might have known, well, we know they're probably going to cough it up a bunch. So we're going to play a more dour, intercepting, defending kind of style and just going to pick you off and then counter-attack the other way. You can't do that as much now. Like, the teams that, like North, like Carlton, like Melbourne, like Brisbane, the really good teams, not only can they go with speed and aggression, but they go with accuracy and execution as well. And I was just massively excited. I walked away from these two games and I watched them back to back on Sunday on replay. I just walked away really excited about where the game is headed. And there is work to do to get the rest of the competition up to the standard. And I think it's worth accepting that this is a sport that has grown. It has grown big in terms. It's grown expansive in terms of its reach of having like 18 clubs in a very small amount of time. And so I don't always think the playing lists are even as they will be in another 10 years. But I don't know. I just can't help but look at players like Sophie McKay, who's in her rookie season, playing with that kind of confidence on the big stage. Like, it's unbelievable. It's very exciting. And it's just insane to think that there are all these female athletes out there who haven't had the chance to do this until now. And I'm just pumped to see what the prelim final weekend offers.
It's going to be good.
Just massively, massively excited. Did anyone have... So are we going to... We've pretty much said we're going to unanimously make Kate Hall our player of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anyone from this game who was in your calculations? Like, obviously I've mentioned her a bunch, but I thought Sophie McKay was brilliant again. Anyone else stand out to you?
Addie McKay, I thought, had some really great moments.
Guerin again, I mentioned it last week. Again, 24 disposals and 11 tackles. She was plus 10 last week, wasn't she? Isn't that? I think that's two finals in a row that she got like 11 or 12 tackles. That's nuts. I thought she was really good.
I think we could nearly just pick out an entire Carlton side and say they all had a pretty terrific game. But yeah, I think
Harrington as well down back. I thought, was she down back or up forward? I can't remember. Sorry. I just remember taking a lot of marks. Brianne Harrington. I feel like she maybe floated between the two.
I was going to say, she did a lot of ruck work too, didn't she? She got 14 hit outs.
Yes.
So yeah, she was sort of a little bit everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, no, she was really good. 17 disposals as well. So 14 hitouts and 17 disposals. Wherever she played, that's a pretty good day.
Love it.
I think that's about all. Yeah, I've got.
Yeah.
Like John said, you could just kind of keep listing them off. I think it's pretty crazy. I know AFL fantasy isn't something that we really rate that highly, but Carlton have the top 6 AFL fantasy players in the game, which is it's pretty brutal to it's pretty rare to see it that. Like, I mean, if you run through the stat lines and just look at like the players on top, it's pretty bleak. In fact, I think there's a couple of times where the only Hawthorn player that's like anywhere near the top of the stats is West, and then it's got the little red out as well, which is just makes it even more brutal.
That Hawks player, that Falcons.
That was
looked brutal. Just to rub salt into the wounds, getting absolutely poleaxed in the face by the ball from point blank range. Oh, Jesus Christ!
The numbers too that stand out, I guess, too for me was plus 16 clearances for Carlton, 32 to 16. That spoke a fair bit. 61% efficiency inside 50. Carlton were more efficient inside 50 than they were in totality around the ground. They went at 58.8% disposal efficiency total and 61 inside 50. So, very, very good win for the Carlton Blues, who they are on a march and they've already beaten Brisbane up in Brisbane this year. We're going to go preview that over on Patreon for a bit. So please come over, join us there. And until next Tuesday. Oh, I should say too, myself and I think Ben and friends are going to be doing a live watch along of the AFL draft on Wednesday night. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats!
Go Cats!